Today, we're excited to welcome Dr. Gennaro Piraino to Leaders Learning from Leaders. He has been the superintendent of Franklin Regional School District for over 10 years, and in 2019, he was the Pennsylvania Superintendent of the Year. His career began as a learning support teacher, then principal and assistant superintendent at the Greater Latrobe School District. He is the founder of Educational Leadership and Innovation Consultants who provide coaching to current superintendents. Thanks for joining us, Jamie.
Thank you. It's truly my pleasure and honor to be here this afternoon.
I was wondering when I first read about your background, how you thought your early experience as a learning support teacher ends up impacting your school leadership roles across the year.
I think there are a couple factors related to my early career that really have impacted me today and continue to impact me. One is that concern for all students, that students can achieve their hopes and dreams, and that it's our job to support them in the pursuit of those hopes and dreams. And working with students with disabilities, I realized that they have the same hopes and dreams as other students and the same capacity for success in the future. And so that was a big part of still a big part of what drives me today. I also look at my early experience, and I taught in Greater Latrobe, where I went to school. Early on coming in, they were an earlier adopter of the one-to-one, one of the first schools in the country. And so I had the opportunity to work as a coach, so to speak, with the teachers who I had as a student in two factors. One being the implementation or integration of technology into the classroom in a way that makes it meaningful. And a lot of those folks, this was their first exposure to that technology. And so my role was to take those laptops at the time and transform them from 10-pound paperweights into instructional tools. And so I quickly gained credibility with my colleagues in terms of my ability to integrate technology and support them in the integration of technology. On the other side of that, we were beginning the initiative around team teaching and co-teaching. And so our team of special education teachers became resources and facilitators for professional development around that integration of integrating students with disabilities into the regular classroom. And so those early experiences where I had the opportunity to coach and co-facilitate sessions and lead sessions really helped form my viewpoints on the continuous growth of educators throughout their careers.
I'm often looking at the connections I find between learning and teaching and leading. I think I heard a little bit of that in your response there. The sense of team is a piece that I think goes through all three of those. I'm wondering if you'd agree with my listening, and if there's others you'd add to that.
Absolutely. I believe in collaboration, and really the strongest organizations and the strongest leaders build systems of interdependence where we're learning to rely on one another, but we're also learning to grow with the help of one another and learn from one another. And so when we talk about that co-presenting or that collaborating or the co-facilitating or facilitation, it really is about the co-piece of it, working together, collaborating, understanding your own strengths, as well as what limitations or areas for growth that you have, as well as being able to see those same things in others and being able to accentuate the positives and the strengths of others. And so that's really a big part of the model, my leadership model, and it's building capacity in others. I often say within this organization, the organizations that I lead, growth is the response. We all have responsibility for our own growth, but we also have responsibility to help others grow. And so when I look at that, whether you're working as a custodian or a bus driver, a teacher, a paraprofessional, a principal, up to the superintendent, we all have responsibility to engage in continuous growth and development. We owe it to ourselves. And I think when we do that, it actually, when people talk about workplace satisfaction, when we are continuously growing and pushing ourselves to grow, uh, I think we're more engaged and we're happier in the process.
There was a line I pulled as I was gathering a little bit of research on you, and I found a quote from the person who was the president of the school board when you were identified as superintendent of the year. And that person made this comment that I want to read off and have respond to. The comment was that you have a special skill, and they said it's not one that everyone in this position has. And he described it as the ability to find people who are excellent at their jobs, but are also willing and able to continue learning and growing. You were kind of just responding on that learning and growing piece. How does that play into your leadership to both find those people and then to promote it?
It's interesting. I really think when you find people like that, a lot of it, we talk about networks, and networking is critical to success. And I engage with a lot of people across the country. And when I'm engaging with them, they may be people who are at the top of their game and top of the field, and they may be people who are just entering the profession. But I feel like I'm learning from all of them. And so when we begin a search for a cabinet level position or a principal or a teacher, we are really looking, that whole process is geared to looking for people who are driven enough to have developed the prerequisite knowledge to do the job. They have a depth of understanding. But on the other end, they don't think they've arrived yet. And then part of my job as a leader, and it's tough sometimes, both from the leader perspective and if you're on the other side of it, I'm going to push you to accomplish more than you think is possible. And it's that focus on continuous growth, but continuous growth with the support. That's an environment that we're trying to foster and develop. And so really that selection of people starts maybe years before they actually get into the room to interview with us or interview for the position. But it's through those engagements, those opportunities to interact. Hence why a lot of times I go to our universities and speak to aspiring educators or different community groups. It's really building those connections with people, and so that they know what this organization's about, what I'm about, what's expected. To be honest with you, most of the people that we've hired have done their research, and they want to work within an organization that doesn't settle for the status quo. And so I look for people like that. It's not hard to motivate people who are naturally motivated to continue growing.
So they're seeing that what you're offering is a chance to use what they know and are able to do, and to add to that, to have an expectation that they're going to grow from that while they're there.
Right, absolutely. But that growth, that expectation goes two ways. I'm also looking for people that have the courage to push me to continue to challenge the status quo, to push the bar. And so not only am I going to push them, I'm also looking for those people that are going to come into my office and say, Doc, I think we need to, and really challenge me and push me to grow and to get better, or push me to continue to push this organization forward.
You founded the Educational Leadership and Innovation Consulting Group. Would you talk a little bit about what motivated you to start that initiative?
I have to give all the credit for Eli, and that's what we go by. I have to give all the credit to my wife. She is actually owns the company, but it all came about. We were on vacation, and we were on a walk. It was a pretty stressful time. And I was dealing with a lot of things back home, but it wasn't just within the organization here. It was other superintendents who were going through some challenges during COVID. And as we were walking, She said to me, you know, you could help a lot of people and make a lot of money at the same time. And I laughed, and she said, no, I'm serious. And she said, why don't you do some research on executive coaching? And I chuckled at first. And so we were out hiking again the next day, and she said, did you look up anything about executive coaching?
Next day, she.
Next day. And I said, yeah, I didn't, but I can and I will. And so we started. I got back to the hotel. Kids were at the pool. It was hot. We were out west, and I began on my phone to look up executive coaching, and there were some works out there that I ordered to be delivered home, and then continue to read. And it was about a week later. She said to me, "So what do you think?" And I said, "Well, I think the core mission of executive coaching or leadership coaching really fits who I am as a leader.
Mhm.
But I also think that it is an opportunity for us to make some money together and change the profession or support the development of leaders in the profession." And we continue to have a lot of dialogue. And so Eli, there is a coaching component, and we've hired some of the best coaches who all have experience as superintendents. They've either been president of their state associations with 10 years of experience, or they've been state superintendents of the year. And we work together to build a coaching model that supports leaders and really helps people grow. And our approach isn't just on the job. It's looking at the superintendent as a person. How do you make sure that you're taking care of yourself and supporting the people around you, the people that you love and care about most? And so it's that 360-degree approach to personal development, and matching you with the right people to help you. So if you're struggling with exercise programs or diet, we help find the right person for you. If you're struggling with personal finance, we help find the right person for you.
Mm.
And so that way we're helping you take care of you from the whole perspective, but we're also coaching you on the organizational side. What initiatives do you have going on? How are you coaching or building capacity in the people around you? And then some of our leadership retreats, we've actually engaged the spouses of our leaders, because a lot of times those people in their lives feel the same stress they do. And if we can support them as well, that helps. So it's a comprehensive approach. And my wife was really behind that, because she's the one that kept saying, have you looked at executive coaching, and how are you supporting the significant other of these people so that they're all successful?
That's part of it.
Yeah. And so I give her the credit. She supports me both here as a superintendent, which is my love and passion, as well as the work we're doing in terms of executive coaching.
I'm wondering if there's a couple most common areas where superintendents overall seek that coaching support. I mean, you kind of sounded like you really hit anything that they need, but I'm wondering if there's some things that are most common that folks are looking for.
Well, I think one is that personal balance piece. I think everyone has that need. Everyone struggles with that. And a lot of times they think when they come into executive coaching, they think it's going to focus on just the job. And we push them in sessions to make commitments and goals in each of these areas. And so that personal health, that personal life balance is really important. The other side, in terms of the job, the two biggest things that people struggle with. One is building that, and we call it the team of 10 in the Commonwealth, because there are 9 school board members. Some states it's 5, but it's really building that team with board members and letting the board know you, but also not forgetting that you work for them, but that you're part of their team. And then the sooner you can break down those barriers, find your similarities, the more likely it is you're going to be successful. And so we talk through building relationships with maybe people that you don't necessarily care for or that you don't always agree with. And it's building those relationships that help keep the organization moving forward, because it's really not about an individual board member, and it's not really about the superintendent. It's about what you can do together. The second piece of that is capacity building, building your own capacity to build relationships, building your own capacity to lead, but also how do you build the capacity in others so that you have enough trust and faith in them to really empower them to make important decisions, to guide or lead or introduce major initiatives. And really, and how do you build that sense of self-security so that you feel secure doing it? That gradual release of responsibility, or that gradual release of opportunity within the organization. For us here, it's sort of funny, we're building a coaching model within our own organization. And so I've had all of my central office administrators trained as level 1 coaches. And we're taking that approach and sometimes cross area. So if I'm in charge of elementary education, I may be coaching secondary administrators, because so it's not a direct supervisory relationship, because coaching and supervision are different. Or if I'm the secondary person, I may be working with the elementary leaders. And if I'm a principal, and our goal is where we can get to, if I'm a principal, how can I support my teacher leaders? And so the goal is for our teacher leaders to become principals, and our principals become central office administrators, and our central office administrators to continue to move up, or not, or stay in that same position and be the best that they possibly can be. So that whole coaching model, as much as I'm doing it on the outside of the organization, it's also something we believe in and we do within this organization. And I have a fantastic team. Larry Borland was the board president who talked about that. I have great people around me. I'm very, very fortunate and feel very blessed every day to come to work and work with the people that I work with.
You've got a history of before COVID and after COVID, and I'm wondering if you see a change that's occurred in the superintendent's role pre-COVID and post-COVID.
I think pre-COVID, there was still that heavy focus on assessments and test scores and who can accomplish more, and it was more of a competitive environment between educators as well as between educational institutions. I think post-COVID, there's been such a new focus on not only the mental health of our students, but the mental health of our staff, as well as those clear up through their superintendency. And I think that awareness is important. I think there's become more awareness for self-care. But on the other side of that, pre-COVID, the internet existed, social media existed. Since COVID, I think the scrutiny, the intensity, the criticism for the superintendent or people in that role, and a lot of times that's what I talk to superintendents about, or we talk to superintendents about. You cannot personalize attacks from people that don't know you personally. That's easier said than done.
For sure.
But the reality is they're attacking the position, not you. But I think that intensity of those attacks, that criticism, the turnover of superintendents has just become so much greater. And so hence the need for coaching, but also the need to build that system of support within the organization that supports our leaders here. But I think that's all changed since COVID. So there is more, okay, I need to take care of me and myself, but there's also wow, I can't believe people are saying that about me.
Kind of makes me think that the life balance piece that you mentioned earlier becomes increasingly important in order to handle those kinds of attacks.
It really is, and it's, I often say if that person isn't lying next to me at night, if they are not sitting at the dinner table with me, if they're not someone I go to for advice, then I have to put that type of criticism into a different category. It doesn't mean I don't learn from it. It doesn't mean I don't see areas where I can grow or the organization can grow, but I have to realize that it's an uninformed opinion potentially.
Thanks. Before we wrap up, I'm wondering if you have some words of wisdom or thoughts to share with people who haven't stepped into the superintendency yet, but are pondering it? I'm sure you meet those people from time to time, and when they ask, what do you pass on?
I often tell them that they need to watch people in the position now to see how they handle certain situations and to put themselves role play in their mind how they would handle that, but not to be too judgmental of the person that they're watching, because a lot of times until you're in the seat, you don't really understand.
For sure.
And so a lot of times I tell them, have the courage to get close to someone, to reach out to them, to have dialogue, to approach them. And so I thought I look back to my early career, I had some fantastic mentors along the way. I worked for a principal I thought was fantastic, and I worked for a Pennsylvania Superintendent of the Year when I was coming through. And what I found with them is not only did I learn a lot from them, but I learned about other people who were doing great work. And I was encouraged, and I took the opportunity to approach those people and get to know them and have conversations and reach out. And so a lot of times if someone would reach out or reaches out to me and says, Jamie or Dr. P, I would love to talk to you about your journey to the superintendency, I always welcome those conversations and engage in them, and often tell people that not to rush through any stage of your career, to maximize each one, learn as much as you can, and while having an eye on what that next step is. But don't lose sight of where you are right now, to live in the moment, but continuously look at where you want to go long term.
Well, Jamie, I really appreciate your thoughts and the time. I'm wondering if there's a best way for people who are listening and they have a question they'd like to shoot back to you, a best way for them to contact you.
They can shoot me an email on my district email,
Okay.
right? And happy to get back to them if they and or if it's something personal they don't want to be on my district email. My personal email is real easy. It's Gennaro Gennaro .Piraino Piraino @gmail.com. If you email me, I will get back to you.
Well, we will be sure to stick both those emails in the lead into the podcast.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.